getting started, a life is a dream.
All week, we've heard the rumors and read the rumors online, and you can't go anywhere on YouTube or in a podcast community without hearing about the signing of Sadie Sink with Marvel Studios. So today I'm going to do a video on it in a live stream for the Absolute Geek Podcast. We're going to break this down and kind of talk about it a little bit, and I'll give my ideas on kind of where we're going and who she might potentially be playing. Now, we all know that it broke a few days ago. And I think it's actually, well, let's take a step back. So these rumors go back as far as a few weeks, where it's been rumored for several weeks now that Sadie Sink had been on the radar of Marvel to play potentially Jean Grey in the X-Men movie. So fast forward to yesterday, we get the confirmation that Sadie Sink has in fact been cast in Spider-Man 4 from the Hollywood trades. So that's a good indication that this is real. She is going to play a character in Spider-Man 4. And now we get the onslaught of speculation that it's going to be Jean Grey. So much so that Jeff Sneeder, well-known insider, said it's going to be Jean Grey, that he believes she's been cast to play Jean Grey. And how quickly information has changed. So we're going to dive into that tonight. And we're also going to dive into some Superman movie news and what's going on at DC Studios. But first, I'd have to be remiss if I didn't say welcome everyone back to a brand new episode of the Absolute Geek Podcast. You all know me. I'm Matt. We are launching this show back into the stratosphere. We're going to get this bad boy back where it belongs in the essence of pop culture, podcasting greatness. Thank you so much for everyone who's checked out our last couple of videos, who's been checking out the wrestling show, who's been checking out all the great content that we're putting out now on this channel. And thank you for joining me in my road to 1,000 subs, because we need to get this show and this channel up in the upper echelon where it belongs. So thank you so much for that. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Click that bell so you know whenever we go live with any of our wrestling or geeky pop culture content moving forward. So let's dive right into more of this. Sadie Sink. Today, it's been revealed by insiders. Jeff Sneeder on his Inside Sneeder podcast last night, I believe that's the name of it. I can check my sources. It's the I believe that's the name of it. That he first reported on the rumor that Sadie Sink would be in line to play Jean Grey in the upcoming X-Men reboot. Now he shares some updates, and it sounds like the powerful mutant might be off the table. In his newsletter, Sneeder points out that Sony's arrangement with Marvel requires the latter to provide each Spider-Man movie with a major MCU character. Jean Grey would certainly qualify, but adding her to Spider-Man 4 could require Sony to give Lauren Schuler Donner a producing credit and fee, which Sony would likely be unwilling to do and agree to. Donner wasn't mentioned in Deadline's story alongside producer Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal. So it assumes that the redheaded character mentioned must be Mary Jane Watson. And that is kind of the tonal flip that Jeff had on his show, that we went from she's going to be Jean Grey to now he's being told by insiders that he's connected with, no, she's going to be Mary Jane. That could be potentially problematic considering we have Michelle Jones Watson, who's played by Zendaya in Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, and Spider-Man No Way Home. We already have our MCU MJ, right? So how's this going to work? Well, I have theories. Now, I can't be remiss that she might not be Mary Jane. She might, in fact, be Jean Grey. She might, in fact, be Firestar. She might be Gwen Stacy. You could hire her to be Gwen Stacy, color her hair blonde, but I don't think you're going to do that because it's her signature red hair that has set her apart from a lot of other actresses in not just the MCU, but in Hollywood. So why would you hire her just to dye her hair to play Gwen Stacy? And in the mythos of Spider-Man, we all know Gwen Stacy came first, right? She's her death would be considered one of those points in Spider-Man's history that you can't change. But we could potentially see her join as Gwen Stacy in an alternate universe, giving us Spider-Gwen. She could be our Sony Marvel Spider-Gwen, but I don't think that's the case. I think she's in fact going to be playing Mary Jane Watson. And I've thought about this yesterday and today a little bit about why I think that and how I think that and how is this going to work, right? Avengers Doomsday is essentially taking inspiration from the Time Runs Out storyline in the comic books that set up Secret Wars in the 2015 run. So Doom is essentially going to build Battleworld, rewriting reality. We'll rewind back to the end of No Way Home. Peter makes that deal with Strange for the spell to make people forget who Peter Parker is, effectively making it so that his MJ forgets Peter even existed, right? They all remember Spider-Man, but they forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. They forget Peter Parker. Cool. But we still have that issue of Michelle Jones Watson, right? Like I was saying, Doctor Doom creates Battleworld, effectively erasing the memory of the heroes of their previous lives. He takes different bits and pieces from different universes that are destroyed, and he puts them together, creating Battleworld. So we know that Spider-Man 4 is going to take place between Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. What if, effectively, when Doctor Doom creates Battleworld, probably at the end of Doomsday, we're getting our new status quo for the next Spider-Man and the Adventures of Peter Parker moving forward after the events of No Way Home set up in Doomsday, carried over through Spider-Man 4. What if, and I keep saying what if, and I think we all know that Avengers Doomsday and Secret War will almost certainly be a multiverse tale, right? Doomsday, like I said, will end with the creation of Battleworld, and the chances are that Peter Parker's next adventure is going to be set here. In the comics, when the multiverse was destroyed and Doctor Doom uses the stolen powers of the Beyonder that he took to make himself God Emperor Doom to create a new reality he rules over, Battleworld. It was essentially a patchwork quilt, if you will, world. And it included a very different version of New York City, ruled over by a villain known as Regent, where Spider-Man was once again married to Mary Jane Watson, and they even had a daughter, Mayday, or Anna Mayday, Annie Parker, or Annie, not Mayday, but yeah, they had Annie May, Annie Parker, Annie May, Annie for short. What if she could be potentially playing that? She could be potentially playing Mayday Parker. She could be, but the casting is that when the was it the Hollywood Reporter or was it Deadline that reported this? I can't remember on that one. Um, but what if when the trades they said, I'm trying to get my thoughts together. So the trade said that she was going to cast in a significant co-starring role alongside Tom Holland, right? So that means she's probably going to be around for a while. Zendaya is very busy. She's got a lot of other projects going on. She's in the Odyssey with Tom Holland that's being shot right now. What if her schedule doesn't allow her to continue on in the MCU and she's kind of taking a back seat because she's got so much going on? What if this new reality that's built in this New York City, she is Mary Jane? You know, you have Tom Holland Spider-Man forget his past reality, and all he knows is Battle World. And so on this world, all we have is this version of Mary Jane. There's a lot of talk of resetting the MCU, soft reboot of the MCU after Secret Wars. We all know that Tom Holland just signed a new contract for another trilogy. So it'd be Spider-Man 4, 5, and 6, plus the 2 Avengers movies. But the 2 Avengers movies, I believe, are effectively on his old contract. So he's signed on for another trilogy plus 2 more guest appearances. Now, does that include Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars? I don't know. I know from previous reports that those were on his old contract. I don't know if those are attached to his new contract or if they're talking about 2 other movies. But to have Sadie Sink play a new MJ isn't that far-fetched to me. Because if we get this reality warping Battle World and they take that from the comics, and effectively Peter Parker doesn't, or even Tom Holland Spider-Man doesn't remember his past life or past universe. He just thinks that he was created the day Battle World was created and that this is a norm. It was not that far-fetched that we have a new MJ. Much like the comics when Galactus destroyed the Ultimate Universe and Miles Morales came over into the main 616, we could have that where at the end of Secret Wars, we get this new universe that stays and Sadie Sink sticks around and just continues on as Mary Jane Watson, effectively giving the fanboys and the MCU faithful what they wanted from the beginning. Because if you remember back to the beginning of Homecoming, people didn't like that Zendaya was playing this character. They didn't like the fact that she was going to be MJ. They wanted the traditional MJ. And they kind of snuck around it and said, well, she's playing a character named Michelle. And then as we went through the trilogy, we got Michelle Jones Watson. So effectively, she was who we thought she was. But by that time, we let them off the hook because we love that character. We love their romance and their chemistry so much that now they're engaged in real life. Congratulations to them, by the way. The thought of them playing Firestar is intriguing to me just because we've heard the talk that they are going to try and start sprinkling the X-Men out through movies as they carry on, as we build up to the official X-Men movie. And in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, he was friends with Firestar and Iceman, Bobby. Could it potentially that we hear of another casting for Iceman? Sure. Could we potentially see it where, since his world is rewritten, Jean Grey is somehow written into this and she is Jean Grey? Absolutely. You got to take these rumors with a grain of salt. But as a speculation goes, you can sit here and think what makes sense. And Jean Grey in this doesn't make sense in a Spider-Man movie. Rewriting this world for Battle World, to me, makes a lot of sense. Because there was certain things that were off limits for Marvel to use while Sony was producing their own Spider-Man universe. They couldn't use, my understanding anyway, is they couldn't use Mary Jane Watson because Sony had intended to use her to build out their universe. They intended to use these Spider-Man characters without Spider-Man to build out their universe. But now Sony's effectively saying this is done. We're not doing, after Kraven the Hunter bombed, we're not doing any more movies in this universe. So it seems to have opened up the door for what Marvel can and can't do, or can and can't use now in that Spider-Man realm. So what if effectively erasing everyone's memory, creating this battle world, and we get this new New York? Along with it, not only do we get a new MJ played by Sadie Sink, we get a new best friend in one Harry Osborn, and they introduce us to the MCU version of Norman Osborn. Those worlds collide because we got Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. We know that's set in a different universe that parallels our 616 universe timeline. But what if we get the Harry Osborn and Coleman Domingo's Norman Osborn plucked out of that animated universe and plopped down into this new battle world, which carries over after the events of Secret Wars, and we get that soft reboot and things change in that universe and they become a staple, which they're not. Now, we can effectively get characters that we didn't have in this universe put in there, because as far as we know, in an MCU, we don't have a Norman Osborn. We don't have a Harry Osborn. There's been talks and rumors that Marissa Tomei is coming back for Spider-Man 4 as Aunt May. Well, makes sense. Battle World, you reset. Everyone's mind is wiped. Doom tries to give you what you want, your deepest desire. And for Peter to have Aunt May back is fitting. It makes sense. If you really sit down and think about it, and you know the history of Battle World in Hickman's 2015 Secret Wars run, it makes sense. They can do it. It's not that far-fetched. Don't just let your mind and let the possibilities flow through you of what this means. I understand a lot of people want her to play Jean Grey, and I think we're going to get a Jean Grey in due time. But Mary Jane, and a traditional Mary Jane at this point in the game makes sense. I can't think. I'm thinking as I'm talking, and it's not going well, but it makes sense. Especially when we learn that Spider-Man 4 is smack dab between Doomsday and Secret Wars. And what if, to say in Doomsday, everyone knows, Secret Wars 8, Spidey gets that black costume. We know from the events of the after credits of No Way Home and Venom 3 that there's still a piece of symbiote in the 616. We know that we've been introduced, I should say, to the thought that the Venom symbiotes are connected to the hive mind with Null, thanks to the events of Venom 3, The Last Dance. And we know, if you've read the comic book run, if not, that's all right. If you read the Secret Wars comic book run, we know some characters retain their memories of the events post Battle World, post its creation. And Doom picking out all these heroes across the multiverse and different pieces of things from the multiverse to create this world. So what if at the end of Spider-Man 4, we get Peter donning that black suit and he's instantly connected to the hive mind, and that hive mind reminds him of everything that happened pre-Battle World, pre the events of Avengers Doomsday. And it's Peter's job to go and try to make everyone else remember their past lives. And after Doom's defeated and Battle World's done and everything's returned back, who's to say that pieces of it don't stick around and they just don't incorporate after the soft reboot, a new timeline, a new sacred timeline's created. And in that new sacred timeline, Sadie Sink stays as our MJ. We get our Harry Osborn. We get our Norman Osborn. We get the status quo of Spider-Man reset to what we all know and love from the comics and how we wanted to be in the first place. Taking nothing away from the home trilogy, but setting up moving forward for Spider-Man 5 and 6, this new status quo where we're more street level. It gives them the end to their multiverse saga, and we get more street level stuff. There's a lot of suggestions in those leaks that came out that we talked about that I've heard the Russos are debunking, but I've heard from other insiders that know the person who was responsible for this and confirmed that they worked with Marvel Studios, that these leaks are potentially 3 years old. A lot can change. So just because maybe they don't fit the mold now doesn't mean they're not real. It doesn't mean that they weren't real at the time. And it's also become out that they have very much strategically removed characters that are part of these scenes to keep, people guessing. My Time to Shine Hello, another known leaker, has also come out that said that they can confirm Sadie Sink is 100% not playing Jean Grey. I think MJ it's the choice. It's the clear decision. Like I said, Mayday Parker, she could be playing the version of Mary Jane from Spider-Man Renew Your Vows. I just really when I sit down and to think about this, something tells me that it's going to be she's Mary Jane from another universe that's dropped into Battle World. And as far as Peter's concerned, he doesn't think twice about it because, he doesn't know any better until potentially he gets that Venom symbiote, connects to the hive mind, and Venom reminds him, hey, this isn't your life. This is what happened. And he dons that black suit, goes through the events of Secret Wars, and when everything's said and done, a new status quo with a soft reboot is set in place, and we continue forward with Sadie Sink as our MJ. Like I said, we get our Norman Osborn or Harry Osborn, and things continue to move forward. I think personally, we need that event, that Gwen Stacy death, to happen in the MCU to our Peter, but I don't know if they're going to go there since they went there with the Andrew Garfield stuff. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think she's actually playing Mary Jane? Do you like my theory, my idea? Do you disagree with it? What are the holes I have in it? Is it a strong theory? I don't know. That's just kind of where my mind went when I sat down and thought about the events of, them saying that time runs out is the premise for a lot of Doomsday. And then we get the Secret Wars 2015 Hickman Secret Wars run. It's the premise of Avengers Secret Wars. And the Russos said they're fans of the original Secret Wars run and this one, so they're going to pull from both. So I expect to see Black Suit Spider-Man to play a big part in this and potentially be one of the characters that remembers their past life before Battle World, and they continue on. That's just my thoughts on the Sadie Sink. You're not going to cast someone of Sadie Sink's ability and, being a quick up and comer that she is now that Stranger Things season 5 is going away or coming to an end, to play a one-off character, a one and done character. I just don't see it happening. She's going to be around for a while. And then being around for a while, I think Mary Jane makes the most sense and continue forward with the status quo after things are soft rebooted at the end of Secret Wars. One of the other big things that we want to talk about is Superman. Let's talk about Superman. It has been said that, again, big rumors. And again, I want to say Jeff Sneeder is at the Yeah, Jeff Sneeder is at the core of this. That we're potentially going to get some big name actors are going to play some surprise cameos in Spider-Man Superman Legacy to the tune of potentially Tom Cruise as Jor-El or John Goodman as Jor-El. I don't know. Chris Pratt also being attached to this. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. But the bigger news is that Warner Brothers execs supposedly are fearful of this movie. That it's going around being said that this Superman movie is James Gunn's Superman, where it's quirky and jokey and comedic, and they don't like the tone of the movie. So they've ordered reshoots and re-edits of what they saw. And it's also been said that there have been people that have seen early cuts of this movie and they don't like it. The tone isn't Superman. It's such a big deal that we have heard in the last couple of days and weeks that potentially Warner Brothers could go the way of 20th Century Fox if this movie doesn't produce. That they could scrap everything. That maybe James Gunn isn't the answer. Well, you thought you had your guy in James Gunn. You thought he was the answer. Why are you backing down now before people can even say it? They are comparing this movie to Guardians of the Galaxy. Superman meets Guardians of the Galaxy. Ooh, doesn't sound good. But I remain hopeful. And I would love for Warner Brothers to get a win here, because a win here leads to other projects like Batman Brave and the Bold. There's even speculation out there that we have not heard about news about a casting for Batman Brave and the Bold because they're holding out until Superman comes out and to judge the reaction. And they could pull the plug on everything DC if Superman does not perform. They've hit it out of the park with their animated stuff. Creature Commandos, well received. We're waiting on Peacemaker Season 2. But I hope that this is nothing more than rumors and maybe knee-jerk reactions. I hope that we get a strong showing for Superman. I hope that it's not a jokey Superman, or even if it is, it works. So that way we can continue on in this Warner Brothers universe, and we get Batman Brave and the Bold. We get Damian Wayne. We get the Teen Titans. We get the rest of the stuff that we've been promised outside of Creature Commandos. Let me know what your thoughts on the Superman stuff is in the comment section below, and greatly appreciate that. Are you guys watching Daredevil Born Again? Daredevil Born Again has been really good, especially the last episode, episode 3. But it's not faring well on Disney Plus. There's talk that Disney is worried with Daredevil Born Again's ratings and viewership. I'm pulling up here the viewership and ratings for it, just because I don't have it off the top of my head and readily available to me what it is. But I've heard it's not good. Let's see. As of March 12th, 2025, Daredevil Born Again has an audience score of 82% and a critic score of 84% on Rotten Tomatoes. On March 5th, Daredevil Born Again premiered to an audience score of 93% and critic score of 80%. But that's not giving me the box office number, or not box office number, but the worldwide viewership numbers. So we need to find that. Let's see what that is. According to Variety, Disney has confirmed Daredevil Born Again's premiere drew 7.5 million viewers in its first 5 days on Disney Plus. that makes Daredevil Born Again the biggest streaming debut of the year for Disney, though granted, it's only March. Okay. That's for a show of this magnitude. I think they were really banking on the success of the Netflix show to carry over to this. And the problem with that is there wasn't really a recap of the events of the Netflix show. So you're automatically singling out people that maybe want to know what's going on in the MCU, but didn't watch the Netflix show. So you're throwing them in, and they had no idea where the story was so far. Because you had to have seasons 1, 2, and 3 of Daredevil plus Defenders to fall back on, to remember. And I didn't remember all that, everything that was going on. It started to come to me as I watched the show, but it wasn't readily at the forefront of my mind when I started watching Daredevil Born Again. And I loved the first 2 episodes. I think the issue around Daredevil Born Again is MCU not doing so hot lately. I think a lot of people aren't tuning into this show because they've lost faith in the MCU after how poorly phase 4 and 5 have been. I mean, how poorly Moon Knight was, how poorly Miss Marvel was, how poorly The Marvels was, how poorly Thor Love and Thunder was, how poorly Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, how poorly, even though I enjoyed it, how poorly received in a lot of circles Captain America Brave New World was. And I think a lot of people are losing faith in the MCU, and they're tired of poor, terrible writing in the MCU, and they don't want to waste their time being burned in the MCU anymore. So they're not coming over to give Daredevil a chance, which is a shame. And I think Marvel really has to have a strong showing in upcoming. And honestly, I think all bets are off and all bets are on the table that they have to have a banger in Doomsday. And I think that's why we're going back to the Russo well. That's why I think the thought of have Robert Downey Jr. play Doom goes farther back than we think. We know that he was originally cast or originally auditioned for Doom back before he was given the role of Tony Stark. So I think that's why they brought the Russos back, and they've pulled the trigger on RDJ coming back, and we're getting Chris Evans back, and we're getting a lot of these returning MCU powerhouses that help make the MCU what it was and set that status quo back, because Disney and Marvel are in panic mode. They know they need a hit. So they're going back to the guys that delivered them the hits in Captain America, Winter Soldier, Avengers Endgame, and Infinity Wars. Go back to the well that produces to get back on track. And I'm okay with that. I'm looking forward to know it. I think these leaks, the Sadie Sink castings, and every leak we're hearing about X-Men and the excitement with X-Men is really setting up the MCU to have a rise from the ashes like the Phoenix and really get back on track. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know if you're reading or watching Daredevil Born Again, what you think of it, if you're enjoying it and all that. But I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Absolute Geek Podcast. I just kind of wanted to throw my 2 cents in there for the Sadie Sink casting announcement and say, everyone, calm down. It could work. and it could be great, and it could potentially give us some stuff that we've all wanted. But as always with rumors, you got to be careful because this casting could change at any time. These thoughts could change at any time. She could play Jean Grey. She could play Firestar. It can all change in the blink of an eye. So don't panic too much. I think we've all been guilty of it, saying, oh, I know I have been. Ben Affleck's going to suck as Batman. It's documented. You can go back to our podcast and listen to it. It's documented. And he's one of the best Batmans we've got. So much so that I wish he was still playing Batman. But that I digress. Let me know all your thoughts, inquiries, opinions in the comment section below. Again, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and that bell notification so you know whenever we go live with any of our new stuff. Thank you so much for coming back and checking out this episode of the Absolute Geek Podcast. I am working so hard to get this back up and running every Friday, like clockwork, like we had before, and I intend to do that. But if you want more from us, you can click over here and continue watching other great content we have on this channel. If you love audio podcasts and you want to listen to the Absolute Geek Podcast in your ears and you want me to make sweet, sweet love to your ear holes verbally, you can find us on all podcasting platforms. Make sure to check us out on all social medias. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and follow us on Facebook. I love you guys. I love your faces. I'm glad to see you all back. And we'll see you guys in our next episode.
All you freaks and geeks,
come all you freaks and geeks. Let's listen to Absolute Geek.
Absolute Geek.
We'll go ahead and spread our cheeks.
Spread the cheese.
And drink
And
some
over for
Cosby wine.
we'll
Come
drink
on,
some
Absolute
Cosby wine. It makes me feel real fine. See you next time on the Absolute Geek.